Moral, deixa eu chamar aqui o
Is
inspetor
Rosso
Rosso.
here?
Yes, he is. You wish to speak to him?
Claro, quero.
Yes, I do.
One moment, monsieur.
Quero, né? Porque agora a gente já tem novas
It's
informações
Sobart,
aqui.
monsieur. He insists on talking to you again.
Thank you, Moo.
Mu. O cara tá seu casaquinho agora, hein? Ou ele já tava antes, não lembro.
What now, monsieur?
Vou falar do...
Ever heard of a guy called Marquet? Jacques Marquet?
Marquet. I know the name well. He has a record for suspected blackmail, kidnapping, arson, and art theft.
An all-rounder, huh? How come he's on the loose?
His bravado is matched only by the courtroom skills of his attorney.
Have you heard of Professor Pegram, the archaeologist?
Molly Pegram, the second son of Lord Barclay Pegram.
I don't know. I only read about him in a magazine.
So much for the efficacy of rehabilitation. What has he done this time?
He made an important archaeological find in Ireland.
Oops.
Do you know Pegram well?
I have connections with the family, but I wouldn't say I knew him at all.
Is his name really Molly?
Of course not. That was the nickname he was given at school. All his friends and acquaintances know him as Molly.
Qual que é o nome dele, então?
Do you know a pair of thugs called Flap and Guido?
I have known those two since they graduated from special school. Flap is a nasty piece of work, but Guido is the real brains of the partnership. Where
Poxa,
did
ele
you hear
inverteu
of
os
them?
nomes na tradução.
I met them out front of the Hotel Ubu.
Vou mostrar pra ele o bagulho aqui, se ele quer pó.
What do you make of this white powder, Rosso?
It is plaster.
Say, you're good.
Cara, mostrei o pó para a polícia.
What do you make of this, Inspector?
Astounding. Where did you come by a stone like that?
I was given it by a man in a bar in Ireland. Do you recognize the gem?
It is unfamiliar to me. If such a jewel had been stolen, I would know it for sure.
Tá. Bom, não vou mostrar mais nada
So
pra ele,
long,
que
Inspector.
eu não tenho mais nada pra mostrar. Agora a gente vai pro doutor Mobinal. Nossa, o jogo fica alto pra porra do nada, mano. Que isso, velho. Berzeiro, Brea plus 30 meses, mano. Akiaroto, Brea plus sub. Clayson, Brea plus 49. Hugo, Brea plus 8. Mad by HUD, Brea plus sub. Hitzel, Brea plus 3. Macocraio. Já tinha ali, né? Macrocaio. Museu de Krun. Ah, será que o doutor voltou? Opa! É o doutor Lobinal.
I beg your pardon. Are you André Lobino?
That's me. You want my autograph?
No. I was told you may be able to help me.
Help?
My name is George Stobart. I'd like your professional opinion.
Well, okay. Shoot.
Se eu mostrar a pedra aqui, calma. Ah, do homem enforcado.
Does the name Montfaucon mean anything to you?
Sure. It was the most grisly spectacle in Paris until the Revolution.
A public toilet?
Montfaucon was the place of execution for many thousands. A dark temple of death, with row upon row of arches, each one framing a grim exhibit. Scores of rotting corpses swung on creaking rope, while the crows devoured their flesh.
That explains the image of the hanged man. I found a reference to Montfaucon in Ireland, in a village called Lochmarn.
Lochmar.
Lochman, that's where Pegram was digging.
That's right. He'd left the excavation before I arrived. Do you know Pegram well?
Not really. I met him at a conference. I would have liked to talk to him in depth, but I didn't have time.
When was this?
Oh, back in the summer, July, I think.
The second week of July?
Maybe. Yes, it was, just before Bastille Day.
So Pegram was in Paris at the same time as the other victims.
Pardon? Victims of what?
Pardon?
Nothing. Just thinking aloud.
Tá.
Where was the site of Montfaucon?
Nas
To the
catacumbas.
northeast, near the Canal Saint-Martin. But there's nothing there now. The old gibbet was torn down during the Revolution.
I'd like your opinion on a medieval manuscript.
Vraiment? Do you have it with you?
No, it's too fragile. And besides, there are certain people who'd stop at nothing to get their hands on it.
Sus.
Intriguing. Do you have a copy of the text?
There isn't much, only a few Latin phrases. I was kind of hoping you'd help decipher the pictures.
Without seeing the manuscript, that's a tall order.
Just tell me one thing. What does the image of two men riding on the same horse suggest to you?
The Knights Templar. Does the Templar seal appear on this manuscript? I'd love to see that for myself.
Ih, ó, o Vasco de
Can you
novo.
tell me anything about the Knights Templar?
I sure can, Georgie. Soldiers, diplomats, mercenaries, monks, bankers, you name it, the Templars fit the bill. The greatest fighting force in Christendom, the militia of Christ.
Jeez.
Não superei a parte do bode ainda, muito ator de Hollywood. Não.
How did the Templars get their name?
From the building in which they set up their headquarters. The King of Jerusalem gave them part of a mosque on the Temple Mount. It was said to have been the site of the original Temple of Solomon. The order became known first as the Knights of the Temple, and later as the Knights Templar.
You're a mine of information.
O André é inteligente, né?
Glad to be of help, Georgie.
How come the Templars became so wealthy?
There was a constant stream of new recruits to their ranks, many from noble families. They were required to swear a sacred oath of poverty, chastity, and obedience. So, their money, goods, and lands were donated to the order. The Templars soon held land in France, Scotland, England, Spain, most of Europe, in fact. The poor Knights of Christ became the wealthiest power in Christendom.
Is it true the treasure of the Knights Templar
Esse
was
Andrezão
never found?
fala.
Who knows? So little knowledge of what really happened remains. Or, if it does, the truth has never been made public.
What do you mean by that?
The Templars have attained mythological status, like the King Arthur of the
Status
Britons.
mitológico.
There are people even now who say the Templars still exist.
Do you think that's likely?
No, not for a minute.
Ah,
The manuscript is being looked after by a friend.
In Paris?
Yeah, not far from here, in fact.
Well, just give me the address and I'll come round and take a look.
I'm not so sure about that. Maybe I should check with her first.
é melhor, né?
Female friend?
Yeah, she's a woman. Maybe it was my imagination, but I noticed a predatory look in his eye.
Ih, caralho.
This friendly historian had turned
O
into the
Andrezão
big
é
bad wolf.
doentão? Que isso?
This friend who has the manuscript,
Ah oui, the anonymous girlfriend.
she lives at
Não!
361.
Por que você passou o
Rue Jarry.
endereço?
Ah, I know it well. I'll drop by. Just as soon as I can.
Cara, eu passei sem querer.
What do you make of this?
It's the biggest gemstone I've ever seen. Where did
Eu
you
não sabia
get
que ele...
it?
From Professor Pegram's messenger boy.
Did Pegram find this on his dig?
Yeah, the site where this was found was a Templar castle.
Porra, mano.
Do you think it could be part of the Templar treasure?
No, I shouldn't think so.
Cara, esse cara aí, ou ele é muito ruim,
I'd like to shake you by the hand, Andre.
Not now, Georgie.
mas ninguém gosta de apertar minha mão, velho.
Do you recognize this white...
No,
Ah,
What do you...
nothing.
e aqui?
Does the guy in this photograph...
No,
Take a look...
it really doesn't.
Ah, foda-se, esse
Thanks for your
Andrezão é um
help,
cu de
You're
burro.
welcome.
Cara, eu dei exposed de Nanico, velho. E agora? Eu não queria passar o endereço, mano. Ele passou à toa. Tu passou? Rua de Jarry. Pô, dá pra eu ir pro Monte Fação. Mas primeiro deixa eu ver a Nico, né? Vai que o cara vem aqui. Nada alto. Cara, ela vai ficar com raiva, eu acho.
What are you sounding so chipper about?
I'm full of the joys of the fall.
Tá bonito, hein? Nossa senhora, quem eu?
I
Pior que eu
can't
tô bonito pra
imagine why.
caralho, meu.
Because Sergeant Moo has given me another lead. The guy who was supposed to collect the gem, Jacques Marquet,
Tá no
You
hospital.
found him.
he's in a hospital here in Paris. I guess that was the killer's doing, to stop him meeting Pegram.
Maybe. Are you going to try to talk to Marquet?
What have I got to lose?
Plenty.
Ela tem que ir pro hospital.
Have you found out any more about the Knights Templar?
Yes, I have. The guy responsible for their downfall was Philippe IV, the King of France.
Felipe IV.
Otherwise known as Philippe le Bel. Well, he is known to history as Philippe the Fair. But I doubt if the Templars called him that. I'm sure André will tell you all about him.
É que eu já falei com o André e passei teu endereço, né? Erro meu.
See you soon.
Yeah.
Eu vou lá pro Monte Fação, mano. Overcrazy vai plus 8, Dogoso vai plus 40, mano. 39, né? Foi precoce. Foi precoce. Tio Davis vai plus 19, toma porra. Não, cara. Tá, eu vou pro aeroporto? Ou pro hospital? Hospital? Ou pro Monte Fação? Ou pro hospital? Não, eu vou pro Monte Fação. Monte Fação.
Excuse me, officer.
And how may I help you?
Perguntar do Vasco.
What do you know about the Knights
Ah, por que
Templar?
que tem uma foto do Renato Aragão ali embaixo?
Okay. Only that they were excommunicated in 1312 and hanged in their
O
dungeon
Didi.
within this very square.
Boy, what they teach in the police academy these days.
No, monsieur. I read it on that board over there.
Ah. Cara, não parece o Didi, mano? Só faltou ele pegar o extintor aí e
Shouldn't you be
começar.
off directing traffic or something?
You have seen the Parisian traffic, no?
Yeah, so?
I could direct the traffic. The most dangerous, the east side of Rome. Or I can sit here and enjoy the sun, the architecture, and the so-so Sauvignon. Which would you choose?
Yeah, but I'm not a policeman. What happened to duty?
An excellent question, monsieur.
Have you seen this man before?
No. Who is it?
I believe him to be an international assassin.
Oh.
Is that all you can say?
Ah, cidade vazia, né?
I did wonder if I should say that I believe you to be an international paranoiac. But it didn't seem polite.
Tá, isso aqui, você
Does this
conhece?
matchbook mean anything to you?
The pattern looks Middle Eastern. Beyond that,
Tá, nada útil. E essa joia,
Look at
conhece?
this gem.
cut glass.
No, it's not. It's for real.
What kind of madman would go around waving a priceless gem under people's nose?
So either it's glass or I'm mad? I didn't like to think about that for too long.
Esse cartão,
Take a look
conhece?
at this.
Ah, an electrician. My TV has been acting up. Could you fix it?
I doubt it. This isn't my ID. Would you like to shake? I stopped myself barely in time. Electrocuting a cop would not have been smart.
Cara, seria uma
They'd
ótima
rebuild the
ideia.
Bastille just so they could throw me in and throw away the key.
Tá.
I'll see you around.
Oui, monsieur.
Tá, vamos ver o que que rola aqui. Aqui tem um lugar.
In French, English, and German, it read, In 1312, Pope Clement V dissolved the Knightly Order of the Templars and excommunicated its members on charges of heresy. In the following 2 years, many of the knights were hanged on this site. Their Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, was burnt at the stake on an island in the Seine.
Dá pra entrar no esgoto? Esse cara
I
adora.
couldn't open it with my bare hands.
Ah, de novo não dá. Ah, mas eu tenho um abridor de esgoto. Abre mais o esgoto, né? Oxe, voltou, meu.
Hey, you. What do you think you are doing? Leave that cover alone. Now.
É crime abrir esgoto?
Sorry, no harm intended.
You stay away from that.
Cara, não sabia que era crime abrir esgoto, mano.
There was no water to frolic about in, and the leaf mold that was collecting there just wasn't the same somehow.
Porra, onde ele guarda essa barra? Ah. Nunca pergunte.
I didn't have time to sit around.
Kat, eu acho que eu tô chegando num lugar, tá?
Waiting in prayer for the judgment day.
Pô, ó o eco que tá na igreja, mano. Alto nível.
Biblical references engraved into the tomb edge to guide his way to the next world. I guess.
Uma caixa rara ali, hein?
The statue had any secrets. It was concealing them pretty well. Carrying all that armor around must have been hard.
Ar.
I didn't recognize the biblical story in it. I was a Sunday school dropout.
Tá. Bom, então, o que aconteceu aqui? Me perdi.
I wondered if this guy had died in combat. I didn't have time.
Me perdi de novo. Eu vou ter que ir pro hospital, eu acho. Às vezes lá no hospital eu vou achar alguma sacanagem pra fazer aqui. E não tem nada, mano. Né? Rafa abrirá por 1 ano, Júlia abrirá pelos 6, M abrirá pelos 22, Ribold abrirá pelo sub. Dá pra vir pra mais algum lugar? Acho que não, né? Não. Não, vou embora, vazei. E guarda tem como bater na cabeça dele pra ele desmaiar? Acho que não também. Cara, eu vou ter que entrar naquele esgoto. Como é que eu mando um guarda, eu expulso um guarda da cidade? Hospital.
The old building managed to retain some of its original grandeur, but the modern additions look like a baseball cap on a statue of a medieval saint.
É o hospital.
I felt a little guilty as I tried the door, like I was about to rob a grave. I gripped the handle with an involuntary tremble in my hand and pulled.
Por que você abriu, cara?
The door was locked.
Ah. Cara, até o hospital tá vazio, mano. O pessoal aqui
Excuse
tem
me?
saúde boa.
Yes, sir?
Is this the Hagenmeyer Clinic?
That's correct.
I thought I was in a garden center.
Oh, the plans. They were my idea. A little greenery to
Cara,
evoke
ó a
the spirit
perna
of
do
nature.
tiozão ali, mano.
How may I help you?
Has Marquet been visited by a man in a clown costume?
Oh, no.
You haven't seen a man in disguise?
Well, there's Theodore the Bear. He comes every Thursday to entertain the children.
É o CR7 cobrando
Personally,
falta.
I think he scares them half to death in that crummy old bear suit. If I was stuck on my back with tubes in every orifice, he's the last person I'd want to see.
Has Marquet had a visit from a pair of gangsters?
I should hope not. Can you describe them?
A thin guy who looks like a weasel and his friend, the gorilla.
Sounds as if they escaped from a zoo.
Olha pra deitar bem aqui.
I'm here to see Jacques Marquet.
Oh, yes. Are you related to our client, sir?
Cara, eu vou falar que sou.
Yeah, I'm his, long-lost brother.
A brother half his age with a different name and an American accent.
Yeah, people always say that. I blame Mom. We were separated at an early age. After a mix-up in the nursery at the Oakland shopping mall.
I've never heard anything so ridiculous in all my life.
I guess not.
Tá, falhou.
So, do I get to see Marquet before the funeral?
That attitude will get you nowhere. My instructions were quite clear.
Ninguém.
No one gets to see Marquet. So unless you can prove you're a relative or a close acquaintance, You're wasting your time
Tá,
here.
como é que eu vou provar que eu sou irmão do Marquês? Eu tenho uma foto.
Have you seen this man?
E não é ele.
No, sir. And I never forget a face.
Look at this ID pass.
So you're Merlin. Marquet's been asking for you.
Uhum.
For me?
Yes. He was shouting your name when they brought him in here.
Para de gritar, querida. Do nada começou a gritar.
Now, let me see. He was on Ward B12, as I recall.
Tá.
Oh, he's being transferred to... Oh, dear. He's on Ward J2. That's
É a cova.
Nurse Grendel's ward.
Quem que é a enfermeira Grendel?
What's so bad about Nurse Grendel?
She runs that ward like a South American prison.
Keeping a well-disciplined ward isn't a crime, is it?
Well disciplined. In the discipline and punishment stakes, she'd whip the butt off the Marquis de Sade. Everything.
Eu não entendi a prisão sul-americana.
Done to a strict routine. 6 o'clock alarm call. 6:10 bowel movements and woe-betide anyone who doesn't have a result. Those patients of hers are like Pavlova's dogs.
She sounds like a real nightmare.
And then some.
If Nurse Grendel is that bad, how come the authorities tolerate her?
She's like part of the furniture.
Oh, you mean she's been here a long time?
No, I mean there's not a man in this clinic who hasn't sprawled out on her.
I was
Que?
beginning to get the picture. This woman was jealous, with a big green capital J. How do I find Nurse Grendel's ward?
J2.
Down the corridor on the left, turn right at the senior consultant's washroom. Right again at the executive coffee lounge. Bear left past the administrator's sauna. And turn left at the end. That's J2. And good luck.
Eu não vou ter que decorar isso, né?
I'd like to shake you by the hand.
Don't be fresh, young man.
Have you heard of the...
No. The kind of place where you get little umbrellas.
Huh? Thanks.
Vou
You're
falar com
welcome.
o Cristiano Ronaldo aqui. Vou falar com o Cristiano Ronaldo que eu fiquei curioso, velho.
Hi, my name's George Stobart.
Really? If you wish to make an appointment, see the receptionist.
Caralho, não tem nada pra falar
Do you
pro...
recognize the man in this photograph?
No, sir.
Does the name Thomas Merlin mean anything to you?
No.
Look at this, Doc. It's a genuine medieval type gem.
Yes, so I... When...
Have you ever heard of...
No, sir.
Tá, o cara não sabe nada, esse
May I
velho.
have the honor of shaking you by the hand?
You may not. I don't encourage physical contact between my staff.
Thanks for your...
Tá, deixa eu falar com o Mr. Fall aqui.
Hi, my name's George Stobart.
Pleased to meet you, sir.
Call me George if you like.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's my name.
My name's Benoit, but everyone calls me Bunny.
Bunny?
That's right. I used to have this cute habit when I was a kid.
Keep it to yourself, Benoit.
Tá, com o Benny dá pra falar.
Do you know anything about a patient named Marquet?
No, sir, I don't know much about any of the patients.
I've never met a doctor who admits that he's only human.
I'm only a trainee, sir. I'm sure I'll get the hang of things.
Do you know the nurse on Ward J2?
Será que eu vou ter que saber o caminho pra
This
J2
is my
mesmo?
first day here. I can't wait to get my hands dirty. I was talking about treating my first patient, of course.
Cara, ele até fala
I didn't
igual
mean to
Fall.
get my hands dirty with a nurse.
Deixa eu ver se ele conhece esse
Do
cara.
you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, monsieur. I've never seen him before.
Pô, esse cara toma choque tranquilo.
Shake my hand, Benoit.
I don't think that's a good idea, sir.
How come?
Dermatitis.
I don't have dermatitis.
I do.
Tá, foda-se. Cansei. Vambora. Tá, pega o corredor da esquerda, pega a primeira direita, esquerda no bebedouro, esquerda na cafeteria, direita na ala da administração. Perfeito, eu lembro.
As I turned the corner, I saw the source of the hellish noise which echoed.
Meu Deus, eu vou ter que realmente...
It was an industrial polishing machine with an odd-looking guy in tow.
Eu vou ter que realmente saber o lugar, isso é impressionante. Vou falar com o Fall aqui de novo.
Hello.
What's that?
I said hello.
Oh, hiya.
I'd like to talk to you for a minute.
That's what I thought you said. Don't look so down in the mouth. No matter how bad things seem, I never let life get on top of me.
Oh, yeah? What's your secret?
Why, it's easy. All you have to do is smile and whistle this little tune.
You know what? If you start whistling, I'll bust you in the teeth.
Que isso, cara?
It's a deal.
Por que ele não socou a cara do
You know a
violinista?
nurse called Grendel?
Sure I do.
Is she on duty today?
Yeah. End of the corridor, Ward J2.
Final do corredor.
Have you seen any unsavory characters lurking about in the quarters?
Um velho com o pé na cova é mais fácil,
But I've
mano.
got nothing to worry about. What's that, Mr. Shiny? You'd take good care of the rascals, I'll bet you
Porra,
would.
só queria dar um soquinho no
With a
violinista.
friend like him, I've no fear of oppressors.
It must be a great comfort.
He is.
Yes?
Would Mr. Shiny be your polishing machine by any chance?
Please, don't call him that. He's more of a friend than a machine. I've had Mr. Shiny for 3 years, and he's never let me down once.
Ah,
How come you got so attached to a polishing machine?
I asked you not to call him that. He's got a name, you know.
Yeah, Mr. Shiny. It's just that
o bode tá preso lá até agora.
Don't you?
Cara, que se foda aquele bode, mano. Ficou me dando cabeçada.
I don't mind. The rest of the staff think I'm twisted. I heard them snorking behind my back when I gave Mr. Shiny his weekly pull through.
whatever you've got with this metal mop foot is probably a fine and noble thing.
It is? Say, it's not every day I meet someone as crazy as me.
Do you know where I'd find a patient called Marquet?
No, I'm not allowed on the wards with Mr. Shiny.
Cara, você tá falando... Esse bagulho aqui é o bagulho dele, tá ligado na tomada, dando a volta inteira. Não vou perguntar o resto pra ele, não. Tá, vamos lá, ó. No filtro é à direita. Tá? Filtro à direita. Alô? Tá, calma. No filtro é à esquerda. Dá pra eu beber uma aguinha? Olha, dá pra se hidratar no jogo.
Maybe the face of the unaccountably happy domestic had made me unduly suspicious. I mean, I knew it was only my imagination, but the water tasted, well, peculiar.
Ó, então, no bebedouro é à esquerda. Alguns minutos depois, tá? Ué. No bebedouro é à esquerda. Ah lá, viu?
Oui, monsieur.
Is this Ward J2?
It is, but you're not supposed to be here. We have strict rules about visiting hours.
Can't you make an exception?
Chegou na
I've come
sala
all
dos
the way from
Alans.
California.
You must speak to the doctor.
I can't wait that long. What if he snuffs it?
You can't talk like that here. This is a hospital.
Alan
You will have to
Capifal
leave.
na cama. Me poupe, tá? Me poupe.
Do you have any clowns on the ward?
Why, yes, we do. A professional clown.
I'll bet he lightens the place up.
Eu esqueci de salvar o jogo, mano.
Boissy has been in a coma for the last 3 months.
Porra.
What's wrong with Boissy?
He was involved in a very nasty accident. A silly stunt involving a unicycle. His current condition is due to post-traumatic shock. It's unlikely he'll ever perform as a clown again.
It's an ill wind that blows nobody any good.
Tá.
Do you have a patient named Marquet on this ward?
Oui, monsieur. He is in the private room at the end of the ward. He has been placed in strict isolation.
You can tell me how my brother is, can't you?
Of course, monsieur. What is his name?
Jacques Marquet.
Let me see. He's satisfactory.
I was told he was dying.
Well, he is, but the doctor described his condition as satisfactory. That's quite an improvement on yesterday.
Tá morrendo, mas tá
Do you
satisfatório.
know who paid for Marquet's room?
No, of course I don't.
Preferential treatment like that must cost an arm and a leg.
That's not my concern, monsieur.
Será que
Do you
ela já viu?
recognize the man?
No, I...
Será que ela aceita
Do
meu
you know
cartão?
Merlin of Gruber Electronic?
No, I...
Você reconhece isso?
Teclado Gamer?
Não. Quer dar um abraço na minha mão?
Well,
That's okay. Forget it. I didn't really want to use it on her anyway.
Tá.
Thank you, nurse.
you may come back at visiting time, monsieur.
Thanks. When is...
The second Tuesday of each month.
Tá, tô preso aqui. E agora? Como que eu vou falar com o meu mano? Achei que ela tinha. Eu não tirei o bagulho da tomada?
As I tugged the plug out of the socket, the polishing machine coughed, spluttered, and died.
Por que eu tirei o bagulho da
Mr.
tomada?
Shiny, what's wrong, pal?
Pra que eu fiz isso? Puxo de novo pra ele achar que quebrou. Ué, puxo de novo pra achar que quebrou. Então, puxo de novo. Puxo. Tá, calma. Caralho, eu esqueci que minha cadeira tava solta, eu quase caí. Que medo. Cara, que minha cadeira eu uso ela presa pra não descer. Eu esqueci que eu soltei, mano.
The polishing machine coughed, spluttered, and died.
Not again. This is not a good...
Eita, ele bicudou o Senhor Brilho. Eu falo com o Senhor Brilho ou abro a porta? Será que essa porta é abrível? Meu Deus, o foda é que o jogo me obriga a ficar assistindo o tiozão a ligar a tomada, mano. Ele dá o caminho mais longo, né? Em vez dele virar pelo lado aqui. Vamos ver se abre a porta. Ah, virei médico, porra! Eita!
Dr. Stobart at your service.
Deixa eu salvar, né? Virei médico, mano. É fácil assim virar médico? É, ué, não é? Ih, será que ela vai cair?
Good afternoon, doctor.
Oh, hi. Is this Ward J2?
Yes, sir. The patients are ready for your inspection, doctor.
Thank you, nurse.
Cara, por que, que eles estão falando inglês se ela tá na França?
Monsieur Croquet in bed 2.
What's his problem?
He's been complaining of loss of consciousness. You'll need this, doctor.
França? França! Eu
She
falei
gave me a
França?
long, narrow metal box and a stunning smile. Thanks.
O nome do maluco é Croquete.
Hi, I'm Dr. Stobart.
Hello, Doctor.
The nurse told me you keep losing consciousness.
That's right. I've had the problem as long as I can remember. It's a real out-of-body experience. Like death, but not so conclusive.
I see. How long does it last?
Just a fraction of a second, and then I recover.
I might not have been a doctor, but I was formulating a diagnosis all the same. This guy was nuts. I know exactly what you mean. It's known in the medical field as blinking.
Is it serious?
Of course it isn't serious. It's perfectly natural.
But just think, 2 seconds every minute. Why, that's almost half an hour every day. 2 weeks out of every year spent in total darkness.
I don't have time to listen to this baloney.
Tá, eu vou perguntar se ele viu o cara, né?
Which bed is Marquet in?
He's round the corner, in solitary.
What's the matter with him?
I don't know, but the men who brought him in were wearing masks and rubber gloves. Hey, you're a doctor. How come you don't know?
We doctors don't know everything.
Then how come you act like you do?
Has Marquet had any visitors?
Nah, neither have I. That's the worst thing about being in hospital. You feel like the rest of the world has abandoned you.
Well, you know how it is. Life goes on.
Thanks for those comforting words.
O show tem que
know what this piece of equipment is called?
continuar.
No, I don't.
Ué, eu não tenho que enfiar esse bagulho no cara?
Well,
Thanks, Doc.
hello again. Do you know
No.
Será que ela vai ficar brava comigo? Eu não enfiei o bagulho nele. Ih.
Doctor,
what is it?
you haven't taken my blood pressure.
Caralho, eu vou ter que trabalhar de médico mesmo, mano. Ah, a máquina que ela me deu era de tirar pressão? A bombinha. 12/8, tá ótimo.
Seems fine to me.
You're not doing it right.
Of course I am.
No, you're not. Dr. Monroe never did it like that.
I can't take a satisfactory reading while you're excited like this. I'll come back later.
Sim, seu irmão quer ficar com você. Já tão um grude hoje, mano. O Remy só quer ficar com o Flynn. Agora tá liberado. Ah, não. Se o Cap me chamar lá da última cama...
Oh, doctor.
Ah, não.
What now?
You didn't finish taking my
De
blood
novo? Calma, eu tenho que fazer alguma coisa pra tirar a pressão dele. Eu vou fazer ele cheirar o gesso, mano.
Okay, let's...
Faltou a Ellie não fica no meu quarto. Quando eu tô em live, só fora de live.
You don't have the first idea what you're doing, do you?
I'll come back when you've recovered your manners.
Boa, fala pra ele. Fala pra ele. Não, eu vou... Mano, se o cara me chamar de novo aqui, é zoado. Se o cara me chamar de novo, acabou.
You haven't finished taking my...
Sopa! Stelk vai pelos 3, Fernando vai pelos 38, Sugix vai pelos sub, Mário Carreira vai pelos 3.
You're disturbing the other patients.
I'll keep quiet when you...
I have to see Jacques Marquet first.
How come he gets preferential treatment? It's because he's got money, isn't it?
It's not like that. I'll come back when you've dealt with that chip on your shoulder.
Tá, calma. E se eu bater com a barra na cabeça dele, será que ele desmaia?
Hello, and
Who are you?
my name is Dr. Stobart, and I'm here to steer you down the...
Dr. Monroe said there was no cure for what I've got.
Your problem is you stayed in bed too long.
Are you sure you're a qualified doctor?
You better believe it. I'm going to take your blood pressure.
Why?
I'm a doctor. It's my job.
Será que tá liberado?
I'm going to take your blood...
Why?
I'm a doctor.
Ué, cheiro pó.
Do you know what this is?
It looks like plaster.
How did you know that?
I'm a plasterer.
Ah.
Does this gem mean anything to you?
No, doctor. Is this some kind of test?
If it was, you would have failed. Have you ever heard of the Club Alamut?
I'm not really a nightclub man, doctor. Game of
Motivado.
whist and a glass of ginger wine is about my limit.
Does this gem mean anything?
No?
Errado.
Is this some...
If it was,
Era na
do
foto.
you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, doctor. Who is it?
A cold-blooded killer.
Really? He's a dead ringer for my bank manager. Of course, Mr. Soames hasn't got a scar.
Gente, eu vou
and he
tentar
doesn't
desmaiar
come
ele
from the
com
Middle
o bagulho elétrico.
His hair's a lot grayer too. Otherwise, it's just like him.
Remarkable. I thought about giving him an electric shock, but I just couldn't do that to a sick guy. What can you tell me about Marquet?
He's the man in the private room, isn't he? That room was mine before I was tossed out like a common squatter.
Do you know what's wrong
Vai terminar
with
esse jogo
Marquet?
hoje?
They won't even say what's wrong with me. Tell me, Doctor, what's your opinion?
It's too early to say.
But I've been here for 3 months.
Cara, dá ou não?
What's your impression of
Eu não
Nurse
lembro.
Grendel?
She's a very efficient young woman.
Efficient? You make her sound like a vacuum cleaner.
Eu jogar até umas 4 da manhã.
The woman in reception described Nurse
Ela
Grendel
mandou
as
mais
a
3
monster.
mil, mano.
Well, that's simply not true. She's quite strict, but that's her job, isn't it? You've got to have discipline in a place like this.
Mano, será que esse cara vai me chamar de novo pra tirar a
See you
pressão
later.
dele, mano? Abrir plus 3 mil bits, mano. Alan, não deixes que o cap te atrase. Ele não pode falar comigo, mano. Fred Milho, Bra plus sub. Brook usando Bra plus 100 mil. Melhor streamer do mundo. Beijo de Portugal. Um beijo. Um beijo não, um beijo, Bru. Obrigado. GBR, Bra plus 10.
You haven't finished taking my...
Meu Deus do céu, chat. Eu não sei. Eu preciso matar esse velho. De alguma forma ele tem que morrer.
Pardon me, nurse.
Oui, monsieur?
Eu vou pedir pra ela tirar a pressão dele.
What is this device?
It's for taking the patient's blood pressure, doctor.
Tá, então o bagulho é pra realmente medir a pressão.
Thank you, nurse.
Au revoir, monsieur.
E se eu tirar a pressão desse? E se eu tirar a pressão do cara que tá desmaiado? Ah.
Hello again. Do you know what this...
No,
Well,
thanks.
Gente, eu não sei como é que eu tiro a pressão desse velho, mano. Eu não sei como é que eu tiro a pressão desse
hi,
velho.
it's me again. I'm going to take your blood pressure.
Why?
I'm a doctor.
Cara, ele fala, ele pede pra eu tirar a
Do you know
pressão dele.
I'd rather... Ignorance is bliss.
Daí quando eu chego pra tirar a pressão dele, ele pergunta por que que eu vou
See you
tirar a
later.
pressão dele. Ah,
His temperature was normal, with little fluctuation either way.
será que eu falo isso pra ele? Mas falou da temperatura. O show tem que continuar. Gente, me perdi de novo. Caralho, é brincadeira isso, né? Don't be a fool. Meu Deus, eu vou bater
You
nesse
haven't
velho.
finished taking my blood pressure.
Will you keep quiet?
Eu acho que eu tenho que voltar e falar lá na frente. Sei lá, mano. Será que os caras vão me cancelar? Eles vão falar, você não é médico porra nenhuma, tira esse caletó. Alguns minutos depois. Eita. Ué! Jaleco, Kat.
Hey, Benoit.
There's no need to. What do you want?
What do you know about this piece of equipment?
It's a device for measuring blood pressure.
What do you know?
It's a device.
See
Ah,
you later.
os médicos já estão me ensinando aqui como é que usa o bagulho, tá ligado?
Excuse me. You must be the new boy. Yeah, I must be. Well, stop wandering about and make yourself useful. Bernie, come here, boy.
Eita, tinha que falar com esse cara.
This is Benoit, my nephew. Can I trust you to look after him?
Do your own babysitting, Gramps. Who do you think you are, anyhow?
I am Felix Hagenmeyer.
And may I say what an honor it is to meet you in person, sir. You are on my medical wall of fame. Right up there with Pasteur and Leary. I look on it as a privilege, no, an honor, to look after your nephew, sir.
He is fresh out of medical school. It will open his eyes to see a real doctor on the job.
I'll bet.
Show him around. Let him see.
Eu vou trazer o cara comigo? Ou o cara vai me... Deixa eu mostrar isso pra ele.
Look what Nurse Grendel gave me, sir.
Ah, yes, very good. I'm glad to see you're carrying it with you. It reassures the public to see the medical profession using traditional archaic tools.
Será que tá liberado?
Look what Nurse Grendel...
Yes, yes.
Bom, o cara vai comigo agora, não vai? Vai. Então agora eu levo ele pra lá. E daí eu mando ele tirar a pressão do cara. Ah lá, já vim aqui direto com ele, mano. Acabou. Bad Dream, obrigado pelo Sebelis, obrigado pelos 46. Me liga, me manda um telegrama. Uma carta de amor.
Could you take a look at the client in bed number 3 now? His name is Eric Sopmarsh.
What's his problem?
He's delirious. He just now came out of theater. He's recovering from major surgery.
I'll have him up and about before you can say, Lazarus, get out of your bed and walk.
Vai, ô Mr. Fall, vem aqui.
I'm going to take your blood pressure. Why? See you later.
Cara, eu vou falar com...
Hey, Benoit.
Vou chamar o Benoit pra tirar a pressão do cara. Não tem explicação, mano. Não tem o que fazer, cara. Não sei mais o que fazer.
There's no need to shout. What do you want?
Eu quero que você tire a pressão do
Here,
mano.
take this pressure
Nice,
gauge.
nice.
Thank you, sir. What do you want me to do with it?
Well, keep it safe until I think of something. Are you ready with that pressure gauge?
I'm ready to pump now. What do you want me...
Eu quero que você vai no paciente nível... No cap.
Use it on Eric Sopmarsh.
Okay.
Nice, acabou. Agora eu vou. Agora eu vou pra caralho. Porra, esse daqui resolvi sem olhar no YouTube, hein. Nossa.
I'm Dr.
Tem
Stobart.
que falar com um médico.
Bonjour, docteur.
Doctor.
Have you seen any suspicious characters on the ward?
Yeah, I have.
A gorilla and a weasel?
No, this was a tatty old bear.
How was the bear acting suspiciously?
Well, he was wearing a homburg.
Is that against the law?
No, but it's pretty weird for a bear.
Don't you think it's possible that the bear was a man in disguise?
Well, obviously, I'm not completely stupid. But who would go to the bother of disguising himself as a bear? It's not as if he'd blend in with the surroundings. I checked with base to see if any bears had been reported
Caralho, é o
missing from
pior
the zoo
guarda
or
do
a
mundo.
traveling circus. They told me to sit tight until reinforcements arrive. I guess they're right. I'd be stupid to tackle a bear single-handed.
Have you heard of a guy called Marquet?
He's in quarantine, Doc, right behind this here door.
Marquet is just the man I wanted to see.
Será que eu posso entrar?
I wouldn't go in
Pô,
there
sou
if
médico,
I was
né?
you. He has anthrax.
Caralho, Anthrax é velho, hein, mano. Anthrax não é o bagulho que os caras... O pozinho que os caras botavam na carta. E daí se você abria a carta nas encomendas, você pegava Anthrax e morria. Teve uma época, quando eu era criança, que teve esse bagulho de Anthrax aí, mano. Né? Eu ficava traumatizado de abrir coisa, mas acho que nem chegou a ter no Brasil isso. Era mais na gringa, né? Sei lá, velho, como é que era. Como tu sabe, eu vi no Google. Anthrax, velho, nossa. Aqui, Anthrax,
Can you
aqui, ó.
think of any sensible use for this plaster?
Sensible? No. Puerile? Yes. But you've probably thought of those already.
Eu vi no Você Sabia, eu também.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, I have never seen him before.
Essa
Do
joia.
you recognize this gem?
It isn't an emerald, is it?
Yeah, I think so. Thanks. Are you Thomas Merlin of Gruber Electronics?
Non.
No.
Then you won't...
Ah, isso
Have
aqui.
you ever heard of the Club Alamet?
Non. It sounds Middle Eastern.
Deixa eu perguntar
I
dele de
have
novo.
to visit my patient.
What for?
Routine. I have to check he's still breathing.
What if he's not?
I'll sign the certificate and register his bed as vacant.
That's a cold and distant attitude to death.
Well, I've been institutionalized to the point of godlike aloofness.
The white coat suits you.
Thanks.
Ah, tá liberado a entrar então? Deixa eu apertar a mão
Would you
dele.
like to shake hands?
What for?
As a gesture of goodwill.
On reflection? No.
Catch you later.
Or if you see that bear, kick him in the nuts.
Uou! Cara, o cara tá morto aqui pra caralho. Né?
Rather you than me, pal.
Tá morto pra caralho, 100% morto. Tá lá! Calma, não tá. Tá vivo?
Marquet?
Yes, I am Marquet. I've been expecting you.
You have?
Well,
Ah, ele tá esperando alguém matar ele.
waiting for? Get it over with.
I just want to know what I should do with the gem.
The Lahmar gem.
Yeah, right here in my pocket.
I thought you were one of the
Assassin.
Not me. I never inhaled.
So, you were sent in my place?
Yeah. You could hardly make the trip to Ireland in your condition. What should I do with the
O
gem?
2 você vai jogar o remaster, o 2 eu vou jogar o remaster, mano.
Grandmaster, quickly tell him that I have found the tripod right here in Paris.
You have it?
Not yet, but it's being taken care of. I hired a couple of stooges with
Ah,
a
os dois
flair
caras lá, eles
for
estão
petty
dele.
crime.
Would that be Flap and Guido by any chance?
You know them?
We've met. What about the Hashashin?
Is more likely to have followed Klausner. He'll stop at nothing to prevent the reforging of the sword.
And that's bad, is it?
As for Klausner, he's gone up to Syria.
O velho falando imita bem parecido a voz verdadeira do Alan.
in Syria?
Ih!
Has a theory about the location of
Ele morreu.
That's enough excitement for one day, Monsieur Marquet. What are you doing here?
Ah, não.
Talking to this patient, of course.
Monsieur Marquet is my patient. If Herr Hagenmeyer was to hear that...
Okay, I'm going. I'd learned all I could from Marquet anyhow.
Minha voz...
And there you are, sir. I was just coming to look for you. I finished with your pressure gauge.
Não, pode ficar.
Thanks, Bunny.
What's that noise? It sounds as if someone's having a cardiac arrest.
O médico! Vai explodir o Marquet!
It's all right. The doctor's in there with him.
Ah, não é uma bomba. É o contador marítimo. Coração.
Are you sure he was a doctor?
Oui, monsieur. He showed me his ID. It was Dr. Braille.
There's no Dr. Braille working here.
He's an imposter! The door's locked. Help me, officer.
Stand back, monsieur.
Eita porra! Ai! Meu ouvido tá doendo! Para, pelo amor de Deus! Ah, mataram o senhor Marquet no apartamento da Nico.
I found Jacques Marquet.
Did he talk?
Yeah, he talked. For the very last time.
He's dead.
Yeah, killed in cold blood by a bogus doctor.
That's despicable. What kind of guy would pass himself off as a doctor and take advantage of a dying man? Was it Khan?
No, I don't know who he was, but it certainly wasn't Khan. He got away, out the window.
Ah, nossa, a cara do assassino.
Have you ever heard of the Hashiashin?
No.
Marquet said that they were his biggest enemy.
Hashashin?
His biggest enemy was the bogus doctor.
Don't remind me. That guy was evil. He had wild, staring eyes like a dead fish. I'll never trust a doctor again.
Do you think the assassin was responsible for killing Marquet?
I don't think so. He could have finished him off the first time. Besides, Marquet would have recognized him.
He was pumped to the gills with sedatives. He wouldn't have recognized the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse unless they'd introduced themselves.
Ah, e agora o que eu faço?
Can you think of any use for...
That's a thing for measuring blood pressure, isn't it? What are you doing with that?
I picked it up in the hospital. It could be useful.
You ought to take it back. Don't you feel guilty?
No. Let's take another...
Ah, eu não quero olhar o manuscrito de novo.
That's the truth. I guess I'd better go back and talk to that weirdo.
Which one? Rousseau or Sergeant Moore? Oh.
É, com quem que eu vou falar?
I'll let you work it out.
Eu não sei com quem que eu vou falar. Ai! O Pernalongo vibrar pelos 7, Gomes vibrar pelos 4, Pedro Inni vibrar pelos 11, Alan, qual é o seu escondido de coisa e... Cara, eu posso falar com o cara e perguntar quem que são os Jachachim. Dá pra ir pra algum lugar no aeroporto? Não dá pra ir pra nenhum lugar em aeroporto. Dá pra ir só pra Lockmar, né? Não, fica em Paris. Vamos pro museu. Perguntar pro André quem são os Jachachim.
You have left it very late, monsieur.
Late for what?
Anything. I am closing the museum soon. You wouldn't like to get locked in. I can tell you, not in this gallery.
Why not?
It is haunted, monsieur.
A Xaxim não era os caras que matavam Templário? História real mesmo? Não sei. Era?
7 years ago, a lad managed to hide in here. He made a bet with his friends, I suppose. When I found him in the morning, he was cold as ice and stiff as a board.
Well, what was the cause of death?
They said it was a brain tumor. But on his face was a look of stark, desperate terror, such as I have never seen before.
Scary.
Tá, ele quer tirar a pressão,
Does this
será?
apparatus mean anything to you?
No.
Thanks.
Fala com o meu mano André.
Hi, André.
Não gosto muito dele não, pra falar a verdade.
Hello.
Vamos apertar os
Have you
Jachachim.
ever heard of the Hashashin?
Why, yes, it was a radical Muslim sect whose name became synonymous with murder. It was formed in 11th century Persia, shortly before the Crusades.
At roughly the same time as the Templars.
Yes, they gave a new word to our language, Assassini, the assassins.
How did the assassins get their name?
From the legend surrounding the secrets of their initiation rites. A young man who sought to join the sect was given hashish until he drifted into dreams.
Caralho, era Jachachim por causa do haxixe mesmo?
Everything he could wish for. The freshest water, the most delicious food, the choicest hash, and the most delectable women imaginable.
Cool. Do you have the address?
I haven't finished the story. There was a price to pay for this taste of paradise.
Wouldn't you just know it?
The young man would wake the next day to find himself back in the real world. He was told that he'd been given a glimpse of the heaven reserved for holy martyrs.
É a dança do
A
haxixe.
heaven he would enjoy for eternity if he was willing to join the Hashashin.
How did the assassins operate?
Well, as I explained, the new recruits would be only too willing
É a
to
dança do
die for the
haxixe.
cause. They'd be instructed in the use of the dagger, poisons, and disguise. Then, the Grand Master of the sect would name an enemy of Allah.
And they'd stop at nothing to eliminate that enemy.
É a
You
dança do
got it.
haxixe.
They were fearless and deadly.
É um homem no
Does the cult
meio
of the
com
assassins
duas
still
mulheres
exist?
fazendo
Take a look
sanduíche.
around at the world today. You tell me.
E o rei?
What can you tell me about Philippe le Bel?
He was responsible for the extermination of the Knights Templar.
I know that, but why was Philip so hot to get rid of them?
Mostly because he wanted to get his hands on their treasure. He had an enormous debt and a lifelong war with England to fund. The trouble was, the Templars were a highly respected holy order.
If the Templars were so powerful, how did this Philippe dude wipe them out?
By underhanded, dishonorable means, of course. The Pope was Clement V, a Frenchman.
French, huh? Handy for Philippe.
Fate had nothing to
Mano, as
do
músicas de infância
with it.
do
He
Alan
was
só tem
Philippe's
putaria.
puppet, planted
Oxi.
to further his political ambitions. Philippe wanted the wealth of the Templars and used Clement to get it.
E as de hoje não tem não, né? Me poupe.
So what was Philippe's plan? What happened?
Sealed orders were sent out all over France, not to be opened until the appointed day. That day was Friday, July.
O dia que eu nasci.
13th. That's the origin of our superstition regarding that date. At dawn, throughout the whole of France, the Templars were arrested. It was the biggest bust in the history of the world.
É, hoje é mais explícita, mano. Pelo menos naquela época você não sabia o que que é, né? O Califa tá de olho no decote dela. Pô, não sabia nem que significava decote, tá ligado? Hoje em dia não. É, o peru vai entrar na... Não vou nem falar porque eu não consigo, né? Não consigo falar esse tipo de coisa. Mas hoje é pior, irmão. Porra, é a cabeça do pimpolho. Tá de olho na cabeça do pimpolho. O que mais, mano? É a dança do machixe. O homem no meio com as duas mulheres fazendo sanduíche, mano. Você vai... Eita, porra.
What happened to the Templars after their arrest?
Philippe was out for blood, so he handed the Templars over to the Inquisition. Not surprisingly, they confessed to a sensational and sordid list of blasphemies.
Like what?
Oh, the sort of things you read about in the gutter press. Devil worship, lewd sexual practices, spitting on the Holy Cross.
Por que ele
that
deu
kind of
risadinha
thing.
quando falou das
That must
taras?
have given their lawyers some headaches.
Whether or not the accusations were true, this was not good publicity. Most of the charges were probably cooked up, but so were the Templars, literally. Hundreds of them were found guilty of heresy and flamed grilled at the stake. They died protesting their innocence.
Tirou minha calcinha e meteu o pau gelado no ar-condicionado. Drica, que é isso? Isso não pode ser uma música, mano. Eu nunca ouvi, graças a Deus, mas não é possível que isso existe, mano. Não é possível que isso existe. Tu já ouviu isso? Aonde que eu ouvi isso, Sub? Aonde que eu já ouvi? Bota agora aí na live? Eu não, cara. Não sou psicopata.
But surely Philippe had no proof of his
Calma aí
charges
que o
against
Felipe é
the
que fez
Templars.
muita coisa, aparentemente.
A man will admit anything under torture. The Inquisition fabricated some nonsensical demon called Baphomet, and then suggested to their victims that this was what they worshipped.
But they didn't have to agree.
The records show a Templar coming to trial with both feet burnt off. Fragments of flesh and charred bone falling from the stumps. What would you not admit to stop such torment?
So there was no truth at all in the Baphomet accusations?
Not a shred. Almost every
Cara, a
victim
cabra era
described the
Baphomet?
idol differently. No, Baphomet never existed outside the sick minds of the Inquisitors.
Caralho, velho, não dá pra parar. Eu não consigo mais parar de perguntar do Rei Felipe,
So
velho.
Philippe stole the Templars' riches, huh?
Oh no, they weren't stupid. The king's troops marched first on the temple in Paris, then to the Templar home port at La Rochelle. There was no trace of the treasure, and the fleet of the Knights Templar had set sail.
Ah, acabou, graças a
I
Deus.
think you ought to know that the tripod is going to be stolen.
The Lochman tripod? No.
It's true. I can give you a description of the thieves.
Before the supposed event has taken place?
I heard them planning the raid.
They're wasting their time. The tripod is protected by a state-of-the-art alarm system.
Well, don't say I didn't warn you.
É.
Why don't you loan the tripod to me for safekeeping?
Because I'd never see it again.
Well, don't you trust me?
It's not a question of trust, George. That tripod is hundreds of years old and extremely fragile.
I get your point.
É, pô.
Did I show you this?
Yes.
Ah, e agora? O que eu faço com esse tiozão aqui?
I'd like to share.
Not.
Thanks for
You're...
Eu já sei o que eu faço. Eu vou entrar dentro da estátua e me esconder pra quando os caras vier roubar eu tá aqui.
Do you have a fetish?
Cara, fez
I just
musiquinha.
love the smell of moth.
Fez musiquinha. Isso significa... É agora.
No, monsieur.
Cara, como é que eu vou entrar aqui sem o guarda ver, mano? Eu preciso me esconder nesse motel aqui sem o cara ver, velho. Eu não sei porque eu falei motel. No armário, mano. Tá ligado? Falei errado.
Pardon me.
Cara, é quase a mesma coisa, né? Como que eu vou me esconder sem o cara ver, velho?
What do you make of this?
It is.
Thanks.
Como que eu vou?
As I reached toward the display, I froze.
No, monsieur.
Calma, calma. Tô
Ok,
esquipando. Cara, eu não sei como é que eu vou me esconder dentro aqui. Bom, gente, eu acho que chegou a hora de eu falar aquilo que eu tenho que falar. Tá? Posso falar? Não queria vir aqui não, porra. Me perdi. É, eu quero vir pro Montfaucon porque eu tenho que tirar a pressão desse velho aí. Vai, velho.
Hello again.
Hello again.
Deixa eu ver. Ixi, não liberou.
What do you think of this?
A blood pressure sleeve.
Don't you want to know why I'm carrying it?
No, that would be dangerously similar to making inquiries. I might get a reputation for taking my job seriously.
Tá.
I'll see.
Oui, monsieur.
Tá, como é que eu vou abrir esse esgoto sem o guarda ver, mano? E se eu botar veneno na bebida dele?
It was a device used for.
Cara, desculpa, gente, eu tô pensando meio psicopata nesses últimos dias. Cara, que esse jogo aqui me quebrou, mano, tá muito difícil. Ai. Pensa, Alan, pensa. Cara, eu não tenho muitos lugares pra ir, pra falar a verdade. Eu só tenho... Se eu voltar no café? Não vai ter nada lá, né? Não sei mais onde ir pra ser Super Sense Arrow. Ah, os caras fecharam, mano. Não dá nem pra eu pegar um pau aqui. Não, achei que dava pra pegar o pau, não dá. Bom, ali no beco eu acho que não vai ter nada, né? Eu já peguei tudo. Aqui eu já peguei o bagulho de arrombar. Aqui é um telefone. Tá, vou falar com os policiais mais uma vez. Falar que os caras estão tentando roubar, sei lá. Se não for isso, eu vou salvar o jogo. Fala se os caras...
Excuse me.
What do you...
Olha lá, ó. Ah, os
Have
Hashashin.
you ever heard of the Hashashin, Sergeant?
What was that?
The cult of the assassins.
What are you trying to say, Stobart?
That the
About?
clown is a member of that cult.
I see. And what proof do you have?
Proof? I arrived at my conclusion through logical deduction and...
Pseudo-intellectual people. Leave the investigation of crime to those who know best. The police.
Tá.
Is Rosso here?
Yes, he is.
Eu quero falar com o Ross.
Yes, I do.
One moment.
Tá. Eu te uso e você me
Estou
usa,
batendo.
então tira a
Insist on
minha
talking to you
blusa.
again.
Eu te quero até de manhã. Vem tirar meu
Thank you, Mo.
sutiã. Eu te... E essa música é velha, mas ela era tranquila até. Né? Tem piores hoje em dia. Dani Brea plus 22, Atum Brea plus 27, Vini Brea plus 16.
What now, monsieur?
Eu quero saber do Vasco.
Have you heard of the Knights Templar?
Les Templiers.
Ah, mas eu já perguntei isso pra ele.
Their fame is widespread through... We haven't forgotten them. Unlike the...
It was the King of France who persecuted them, though.
Indeed.
That shook his cool. Underneath his cultured facade, the man was real twitchy.
Tá, falar do Vasco de novo.
You're obviously a great admirer of the Knights Templar.
They were men of great honor, monsieur. The flower of chivalry.
Not everyone would share your views, Inspector.
Not everyone shares my passion for Bartok.
But if the Templars were as honorable as...
That's enough. I do not wish to hear your uninformed opinions.
E o cara ficou puto, mano, que eu dei exposed nos Templários.
Why do you get so wound up about the Knights Templar? They've been dead for centuries.
Ele é um Templário,
I shouldn't
mano.
have pushed my luck. Maybe his ancestors were Templars. Whatever. I saw the anger flare in his eyes like a distant summer thunderstorm.
The Templars were the first true internationalists. 800 years on, and still the world is fragmented by nationalistic flag-waving fools. You will excuse me.
Ih, o cara ficou puto e vazou, mano. Ih, caralho. Ele não vai querer mais me ver, não. O jogo bugou.
Excuse me.
What do you want?
Is Ross...
Yes, he...
Quer ver? Será que ele vai querer falar comigo? Deixa eu ver.
It's Stobart, monsieur. He insists on talking to you again.
Thank you, Moo.
Ele vai sim. Eu não tenho mais o que falar aqui com ele, pra falar a verdade, né? Khalid, Brea plus 3. Falagox, Brea plus 3.
What now?
Bom, chat, é oficial. Eu me perdi. Calma, não. Hoje é sexta, lá vai até pelo menos 2 da manhã hoje pra eu terminar esse jogo. Ah, mentira, né? Cara, eu queria terminar esse jogo hoje, mas eu acho que não existe esse mundo, né? Tá, eu ainda acho que o meu plano é me esconder no museu, mano. Deixa eu só falar com ela de novo. Só pra ver. Live amanhã? Não, chat, mas é sábado. Amanhã eu vou fazer nada, na verdade. Meu Deus, pra mijar.
Hello, Josh.
Labino explained who the Hashashin were.
Hashashin?
Yeah?
The cult of the assassins.
Oh, boy.
Ué.
Can you think...
That's a thing. What are you doing?
I picked it up...
You're
Já falei isso pra ela. Gente, eu acho que é lá no hospital eu tenho que me esconder.
Okay.
No hospital não, no museu, mano. No museu. Eu acho que é lá. Eu só vou mijar, hein. Mano, meus gatos, eles estão loucos.